Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning back in once again for another episode of Logik's View. Joining us today, we got special guest and state representative Steve Carra. How you doing today, brother Steve?
Hey, doing well, Logic. Good to see you.
Good, good, good. Good to have you. Good to have you with us. Tonight we're gonna be discussing several different topics and a couple bills that state rep Steve has been pushing and getting publicity surrounding those topics. And we're going to talk about all things pertaining to Michigan like we normally do. A little later in the show, I'm going to discuss AxeMiTax. Me and Steve could talk about that. I think he has an event next week or next month paired up with them, or he'll be speaking at it. And Stephanie Lambert, we got Sheriff Dar Leaf and some subjects like that. We're gonna touch in a little bit, but we're gonna start out with State Rep Steve, uh, just bringing to us any bills that he needs, thinks we need to be made aware of, and whatever other valuable information he has. So you can go ahead and get started with that.
Yeah, so the first one I'd like to talk about is the non-disclosure agreements. We have, as legislators, we should be transparent. And Michigan is one of the worst states for transparency. What happens is a lot of these big, crooked corporate welfare crony deals, legislators and local elected officials will sign a non-disclosure agreement as they're working on developing the process and setting the foundation for this corporate elitism, which is not free markets. And all the Democrats support this except for one. So that Marshall mega site, for example, there were legislators who were signing non-disclosure agreements on that as they were building the foundation. And it's the people in the community didn't even know it was about to happen. And then, before it was too late, it's passing and they're getting this across the finish line. So if we are talking about things that are going to happen in the state of Michigan, we as legislators should not be signing non-disclosure agreements, blocking our ability to be open and transparent with the people but from our communities as to what we're working on and what's going on behind the scenes. So the bill is very simple, just says we're not allowed to sign those non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, because once they sign those, then it's like a safety net or protection where even if we try to ask them questions, they always can fall back and say, "Oh, I can't talk about it." So that's completely unfair to us, and I'm glad that you are bringing attention to that topic. So that's a bill that you were pushing forward, or you where's that at in the process?
Yeah, it's in committee, and for example, that when I was talking about in Marshall is $1.7 billion that deal was, and $1.7 billion in taxpayer funding. You divide that by 10 million people in the state of Michigan. That's $170 on average from every man, woman, and child. So a family of five, for example, having to take $850 out of their pockets just to give to this one company who wants to build electric vehicle batteries with ties to China. That's ridiculous. For the idea of free markets is you provide a service or goods and you sell it on the marketplace and you invest and you find people who may want to invest in your vision, and you do it without forcing the taxpayers to give them that special deal. So we need free markets and equal opportunity, not picking winners and losers like this. And so that's what this non-disclosure agreement's all about, is that type of stuff, making sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, transparency. And the people who like to deal with dark money and stuff like that, I bet that they don't like what you're doing.
No, they want to keep these special crony deals in the dark. They don't want the people of Michigan knowing about this. And then legislators try to act like they're for small businesses all the time. Do people go and campaign, go to the doors and say, "Yeah, hi, here I'm running for state representative, and I want to take your money and give it to this big corporate elite company that with ties to China, and I want to take $850 out of your pocket and go out there and give it to this one company over here in Marshall. Will you vote for me?" Who goes out there and says that? People don't go out there and campaign like that. They say they support small businesses. Well, making small businesses and the people pay all these extra taxes so that their special interest groups can get their crooked deals is the way of the game, and it's abhorrent. And every Democrat supports it except for that one. And if the people of Michigan only knew how much this Democrat Party is just, going so far off the deep end of corruption and tyranny, it's disgraceful.
Now you said in your press release, it said 1 in 5 of your colleagues have signed these non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, 1 in 5
So
have
what is
signed
that?
and actually some of those actually are, they regret having signed it. So I've talked with some of them in Lansing who say, yeah, I've signed an NDA and I wish I didn't. That's wrong. We should be more transparent than that. So the good news is, of that 1 in 5, some of them are feeling, that that's something that shouldn't happen moving forward. So this is something that could very easily be a bipartisan bill. And the people of Michigan, I think this is not a Republican or Democrat thing. This is something that people across party lines should agree. We should be transparent about what we're working on.
Okay, and with the Dems in control right now, you have to do some real good convincing, or do you think how you think it's gonna go?
Yeah, no, usually if it's good policy, the Democrats don't want to do it. Is an unfortunate way of the world, unfortunately. But sometimes some things can get across the finish line, but it is an uphill battle for this, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't still fight for the right thing anyway. And,
Yeah, yeah,
there are
exactly.
some definitely Democrat voters support this, and there are some Democrat elected officials too who could come on board. It's just the problem is whether you had Republican or Democrat leadership, the special interest groups who donate so much money to these leadership campaign to the leadership, they're going to tell them, hey, one of our big things we want is for you not to let that non-disclosure agreement bill go through. And if you want to get another hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of dollars or millions of dollars from us, that bill needs to not come up or we're cutting off ties. So leadership who decides whether or not it comes up for a vote can just kill it by not bringing it up, even though Democrat and Republican elected officials would vote yes if it did come up. So that's an
yeah,
unfortunate reality.
yeah. And the special interests and all the money in the elections, that's a whole nother subject that we need to keep an eye on and continue to push back in that as well, because all the influence of all this money, it makes it hard for our government to function properly.
Right.
Yeah. um I was gonna say something else. I forgot what I was gonna mention. But yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on that. And what was the bill? What bill was that?
Was that 5520? I know
Oh, 5524. Yeah, bill.
5524. Yeah.
Okay. HB 5524. All right, yeah, you like you say, you got my contact. I want to stay up to date on a lot of these bills. So thank you for that. Okay. That's the non-disclosure agreement topic. Whew. Yeah, we need that transparency. So we appreciate your effort in that area. And then I know the other one was about truth in labeling law for taxpayer funded services. Uh,
Right. Yeah, so government oftentimes will try to promote services as being free, things that the government's given out for free to people. And so this bill is very simple, doesn't make any substantive change, unfortunately. But instead of calling something a free service, it has to refer to it as a taxpayer funded service. And it just helps people with their mindset of knowing that, government doesn't just give free things out. If it costs money, it's coming from somewhere and it's coming from the people through their taxes. So just very simple that government, instead of referring to something as a free service, should refer to it as taxpayer funded. And it looks like you're pulling it up on the screen there so people can see the press release that went out. That was just yesterday.
all right.
Yep, House Bill
All right.
5617.
5617. It says, don't say free, say taxpayer funded. Yeah, and this is the type of common sense, transparent, plain as day legislation that we need being brought forward. I mean, it should already be in place, but it's not. So, you doing what needs to be done.
Yeah, government likes to use deceptive tactics, and Democrats like to as well to make it sound like it's a good idea. So government giving out free things. If you just frame it that way, it's like, oh yeah, we get all this wonderful stuff. This is great. Well, it costs a price, and we should look at the pros and cons. And do we support central planning and everyone pooling their money together and figuring out how we're going to spend money? Central planning to me is something I thought we had learned as a country and what our country was founded upon. That central planning is a bad idea. That free markets and the opportunity to provide for yourself and your family and to thrive is what's best. But government continually likes to get its hands in things, and once it does, it's hard to get their hands back out of the cookie jar. And before you know it, if you look into uh, all kinds of facets of society, the government's manipulating in one way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, things sometimes look like a good idea, but when you add up the nickeling and diming of the taxpayer, would be better off just having free markets and equal opportunity and the opportunity to thrive. So
For sure. For sure. That age old saying, everything that glitters ain't gold. You
all
know,
right,
the Democrats got all the money and all the media to make stuff glitter and seem like the right thing to do, and they count on the voters not paying attention and not digging below the surface. So
right,
that's where citizen journalists come in and interviews like this come in to give people what they really need to hear.
right.
For
Yeah,
sure. All right, and that was the taxpayer. That's House Bill 5617.
yeah.
And those are still in committee, though. Yeah, I assume because you just they're pretty recent. You've been
Yeah, they both a non-disclosure agreement bill was about a month or so ago, and then that one for free stuff being referred to as taxpayer funded, like it should be. That was just yesterday. So they're both in committee, and we'll continue to advocate for them. We know the people of Michigan are going to see this as common sense legislation. It's just whether or not we can get these Democrat elected officials and leadership to stand against special interest groups. And we know that they like to hide behind smoke and mirror uh, type of tactics and not actually be truthful and straightforward with people in Michigan on what can and should be done.
yeah, yeah. And the good thing about fighting for what's right, even if it's an uphill battle, is like they have to explain themselves and why they don't support this common sense legislation, and it's eye opening to the people of the Democrat Party or whoever watching. They see that it's no really explaining some of this stuff away. I mean, everybody should want it. That's
Right.
similar to AxeMiTax. Um, that's something that should be able to be bipartisan, and ending property taxes or cutting property taxes completely. That's something that should go both ways as well. But we're gonna see, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah. So man, I seen last month you were doing your uh protest or stand in. You went for a few days, few weeks. How long did you go?
Yeah, it was Tuesday morning at a little before 8 a.m. I was live streaming outside the Speaker of the House's office until 2:30 in the afternoon on Thursday. So it was 55 hours straight. The only time I left was to go to session and to use the restroom. So I was out there because what the situation started with, when we were passing the budget for this current fiscal year that was done in 2023, and there was this $10 million grant program as part of the budget that was for minority small business owners. So in order to qualify, you had to be of the correct ethnicity. And amongst all the other things the Democrats were passing last year, I'm like, well, that's wrong. We shouldn't be discriminating based on somebody's race. And so I was raising issue with that amongst all the other crazy things the Democrats do. But it was just kind of just another one of the stupid things the Democrats are doing. But it rose to a whole new level this year when Representative Josh Shriver shared a tweet on X, and they called him out as a racist, disparaged him. The Speaker of the House actually stripped him of his remaining committee assignment, handcuffed his staff. His staff's not even allowed in his office anymore, cut his office allotment, and has really suppressed Representative Shriver's ability to properly, do the business that he needs to be doing, him and his staff. And all that over sharing a tweet, and they're calling him racist off of, was it a controversial topic? Yeah, it was, but he is not a racist. And so I'm looking at all of this and I'm thinking they have the audacity to make Representative Shriver out to be a bad guy and have hundreds of thousands of people in the state of Michigan have a bitter taste in their mouth about Representative Shriver when every single one of them voted for racial discrimination in the budget. And then they denounced racism with House Resolution 191 on Valentine's Day, denouncing racism with their voice. And I'm thinking, here they have this resolution with their verbal voice denouncing racism, but with their formal action voting for the budget, they supported racism. So it's like, what's going on here? Like, we don't just need good words and bad policies. Like, if you're going to be sincere about this resolution, then you guys should be apologizing. And maybe it was an oversight, and that's what I kept saying. I know you were tuning in a little bit during that, and we had some good conversation there. But I told Speaker Tate, it's like, look, you don't just have to simply apologize because you did something wrong. You can apologize and say, this was a 385-page bill. There were all kinds of people who wanted my ear and were trying to say what should and should not be in the budget. And he was a busy guy. The Speaker of the House has a lot on his mind and a lot of people who want to talk to them about their specific things they want to see. And so it could have just simply been an oversight. Like, hey, yeah, you know what? I made a mistake. There was so much going on, and I don't support this either. And just apologize to people in Michigan. It was a simple oversight. And just assure the people of Michigan it's not going to happen for this upcoming budget. And if the speaker could have just came out and done that, I would have praised him. I told him, I said, I will come out and praise you publicly if you can just come out and do that. I think I'll read my email I sent to him on Thursday morning, Logic. I think that'll be a good thing to listen to. It's not too awfully long here.
Okay.
So I said, this was February 22nd. This was the third day of of me being outside his office. And before I read this, the Thursday prior, I had sent an email. Well, my staff sent an email for a meeting request the upcoming week. And we were asking the speaker if you just sit down, talk with me about the upcoming budget and just, about how there was racial discrimination in the last one. And that we just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any in this upcoming budget. And he didn't get back from me from Thursday till Tuesday. And so it's like, okay, well, he's not going to get back to me. He's not setting up a meeting to meet. So fine, then I'll go there. And when he's ready to talk, I'm ready to talk. And so fast forward to that next Tuesday, I started doing that. And then Thursday morning, I sent him this. I said, Mr. Speaker, I raised issue with the fact that racism existed in the budget during the process last year. It was largely ignored by colleagues and media. I understand you're a busy man and there's a lot that goes into the budgetary process. The firestorm disparaging Representative Shriver a couple weeks ago for sharing a controversial post was highly inappropriate. You stoked that flame and media spread it like wildfire. Representative Shriver is not a racist. He's a good man. The subsequent removal from his committee and handcuffing of his staff by you was uncalled for. Then, just this past week, H.R. 191 was adopted by the House denouncing racism. All this when you and 60 of our colleagues voted for a budget that includes grant programs that have ethnicity as a qualifier for eligibility for a taxpayer-funded handout. You are the leader of this chamber, and this is beyond hypocrisy. I've given you ample time to talk through this. I remain available to chat anytime today until 2:30 p.m. Aside from using the facilities in session, I've been outside your office for 46 hours straight and counting. Your staff failed to respond to a meeting request that was sent to your office last Thursday, and the public misunderstands what's truly happening in our state. A smoke and mirror scheme to disparage a good man when in fact 61 legislators voted in support of a discriminatory budget is unconscionable. I encourage you to publicly apologize to the people of Michigan and to assure them it won't happen in the next budget. Perhaps the discriminatory parts of the budget were an oversight. I understand you have a lot on your plate. If you're able to do this within 1 week, I'll publicly thank you for righting this wrong. I'll let the people of Michigan know I do not believe you're a racist. If you're unable to do this and unwilling to meet with me within 1 week, that will speak volumes of where you stand on this issue, and we will have to take your vote in support of the discriminatory budget as your stance with regard to rewarding certain people based on ethnicity. I look forward to speaking with you. You or your office can contact me directly on my cell. Otherwise, please use this email thread to schedule a time for us to talk within the week. Kind regards, Steve Carra, District 36. So he still has been dismissing this whole issue. He's not talking to me. He hasn't gotten back with me yet. And so to me, that's speaking volumes of where he is on the issue. And people of Michigan should know the truth.
For sure. For sure. Actions speak louder than words, and his actions are speaking loud and clear. And that's sort of, this topic is sort of like the affirmative action subject. And I'm one of the people who don't agree with affirmative action, because I believe that if you have the education and the qualifications, it shouldn't matter what color you are. You know what I'm saying? Nobody should be able to get that type of special treatment. And then people who actually do have the qualifications could get passed up because trying to meet this color quota or whatever you want to call it, or racial quota or ethnic quota. So that's a subject that's like they play on our emotions and they make it seem like it's a great thing, but when you dig into it and understand the dynamics of it and the truth behind it, you can see it for what it really is.
Absolutely. And it is interesting. 61 legislators in the House voted in support of the budget that had the racial discrimination in it. Coincidentally, it was 61 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. had his dream that one day his kids would be raised in a society where they were judged based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. So this is kind of interesting. That was 61 years ago.
And that's 61
and here we are.
now. How many is it 110 legislators, or is that just the House?
Yeah, well, 110 in the House, yeah, so 61 of the 110, and it is that 54-54 gridlock right now because 2 Democrats ran for mayor, and there's going to be a special election coming up in about 4 weeks here. And so it's 54-54 until those 2 vacancies get filled.
Yeah, that's one of them subjects where you got to have courage to step up and speak out on these subjects, because a lot of people just don't want to ruffle feathers or want confrontation, or they don't understand it. But man, we got to speak the truth, and
right.
Kudos to you for stepping up and doing it, broski.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to be in the fight, and the truth is what society needs. We need to sharpen our tools of knowledge. We should talk more about the proper role of government. People say, "Well, don't talk religion or politics." Well, tyrants want us to not be talking about religion or politics.
Exactly.
They want us. And that's why we should be talking religion and politics, so that we better understand our Christian faith or lack thereof, or other other faith, and we should know the proper role of government, and we should talk about the proper role of government and have these conversations.
Yeah, because if we're not having dialogue, we can't find common ground. We can't come together and communicate because we just isolated. Oh, you on that side, you on this side, you no. We gotta speak out and have conversation for sure.
Right.
For sure. That's why I told you I want to have you on regularly to keep us updated, you know what I'm saying? And keep the discussion going for sure. Yeah. So well, man, you got anything else you want to bring to the attention of the viewers or discuss before we get into some other subjects, or do you got time or whatever? We've been about 25 minutes in here.
Yeah, I've got another about 5-10 minutes. We're supposed to have dinner here a little after 7:30. So I don't know if we want to talk about state party stuff a little bit before I head out. Um, if that sounds good to you for a last topic before I have to run.
For sure. Yeah. What other type of things is going on in Lansing? What things do you think? What else do we need to be made aware of? Uh, down there, anything big or anything
Well,
of it?
when it comes to the Republican Party and everything that's going on in that, and this isn't too directly related to the drama between the party and delegates and who the chair is and who the chair isn't. But a unique thought I want people to consider is there are some people who engage in politics who don't really care about the Republican or Democrat issues. They just are part of the good old boys club. And if they live in a Democrat city, well, guess which party they're going to affiliate with. An individual of that sort is going to get involved with the Democrat Party because they have a stronghold in that community. But if that very same individual lived in a conservative area, they would affiliate with the Republican Party and say that they're a Republican and try to influence the Republican Party to be more beholden to the good old boys and status quo politics and corporate elite and helping their buddies type of process. And
Mm.
we have that on both sides of the aisle. Democrats and Republicans uh, have to deal with the reality that those types of people exist within their party. And unfortunately, the good old boy system has had a stranglehold over the Republican Party and the Democrat Party for our entire lives, Logic. And so the problem is we had good news. The good news was the state party in Michigan, the precinct delegates, were starting to become aware that the status quo of the Republican Party, the status quo of politics, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, was a major problem, and that we needed free markets and equal opportunity and less rules, regulations, taxes, fines, and fees. And we may not agree on all the issues, but we do know that corruption in politics is a problem. Everybody inherently knows that on both sides of the aisle, but they may not know all the nuances of how it happens and where it comes from. Well, the precinct delegates were aware of this type of system. And to the point where we have a majority of precinct delegates currently who have that type of mindset. And the good old boys club has lost control of the party. And then we had county parties, district parties, the state party, state committee, all of it in grassroots hands. And a majority of the party would be good, principled people who were not under the spell, either wittingly or unwittingly, by that type of deep state problem. And so we had that vote for the chair of the party, which the state delegates chose. Christina Cramo came out on top after all of that. And whether it was Christina or somebody else, the grassroots was set up to win. And the grassroots did win with Christina Cramo. And we needed to press forward as a party from that point united. We knew there would be big hurdles. The deep state of the Republican Party pulling back those big donors, actually telling the big donors, do not donate to that Michigan Republican Party, do not give money to them, and setting that type of foundation. And then there were people who were sowing seeds of doubt about Christina from the very beginning, saying there was going to be a vote of no confidence after 120 days. And they said that on the convention floor on February 18th, 2023, the day she won. And I was thinking to myself, well, she hasn't even accepted the position yet, and they're already talking about removing her after 120 days. And some people will say, well, they didn't end up doing it after 120 days. So what's Representative Carra's point? My point isn't that they did it, it's that they were sowing those seeds of doubt before she even had a chance. And it's not like they ended up just going back home and, letting the steam off. And then after a few days, they calmed down and were ready to move forward. Some people were, but not all of them. There was a very pervasive reality of people who were seeking to undermine Christina and pushed forward with that. Coming into that first state committee meeting on April 15th, it was getting louder and louder as you got closer to April 15th. And I started talking with some of those state committee members behind the scenes. I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, well, like we need to be united as grassroots. We have control of the party. We should be coming together. You know, we don't have to agree on all the issues. You know, she's not the best fundraiser. She's not the most organized. She doesn't have the most experience. But like that's where we need to come up, you know, and on her side and work with her and come together as a group and move forward together, united. And we just never did that. And that's because there were the disruptors who were disrupting against the grassroots movement. And they always like to flip the script and make it sound like Christina and or these grassroots people are the disruptors. Well, we do have some problems with some people on our side of the aisle who may get, you know, go overboard in certain circumstances and cause issues that they don't need to cause. And we don't need to have a purity test on our side of the aisle. With volunteers, what we should do is we should say, hey, you know what? You may not agree with me on all the issues, but if you want to work towards Republican causes and we disagree around the edges a little bit, that's fine. But let's work for you could get conservative victories in the primaries, Republican victories in November. And as activists, let's press forward together and let's go get those victories and work on positive action. Unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to do that for the last year with all the disruption that was going on. And so then fast forward to more recently, they say that she was removed and there's heavy controversy over that. And then they say that we're the disruptors because we didn't like the coup that they did for the whole entire last year, undermining the grassroots movement. And there were some well-intentioned people, Logic, who got caught up on the other side. There's some people who I have a lot of respect for who are part of those people who got involved in, you know, taking out Christina. And we need to come back together. We need to come back together and unite this principled movement within the Republican Party to press forward. So we need to be mindful to get Republican victories in November and then also to influence the Republican Party from within moving forward, you know, into the long term. So that's where we are with that. And I just want to share everybody's perspective on my thoughts with that. I don't know if you've got a question or two on that, Logic. I'd be happy to hear if you answer any questions you might have on that.
No, I think you laid it out exactly how I've been explaining it to other people. You know, you laid it out perfectly and clearly. The same thing I've seen from my perspective, you know, and we did win. It was great news, and the conspirators conspired and came up with a plan to divide us, and you know, good people got sucked onto opposite sides, and it was tragic to watch. But we do have to focus on coming together. We knew Christina was going to face attack, and you know, it happened swiftly and subtly. I mean, we knew, but it happened quick, and it came in, and it happened. Now we're gonna see what the judgment brings, but beyond that, I think we need to focus on moving forward and our commonalities and not letting them successfully divide us. So great points, and I wanted to point out too that, you know, the same people who came at Christina for standing on principles and speaking the truth, you know, they're gonna be coming for you and for anybody else who try to do the right thing, and we definitely don't let that deter us. You know we over the target, and we're gonna face persecution, opposition. So, you know, I choose to let it strengthen me instead of discourage me in any type of way.
Right. And we should be very careful to have a route forward where we fight strong. Don't cave on our values. Don't sit back. Don't go home and say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of all this drama. I'm just going to go home. You know, we need to not give up. We need to press forward, double down, fight even harder, but fight strategically, fight in a way to influence the Republican Party from within. You know, for example, there's some people, and I know you had CJ Richard on as a guest recently, and there's been others too who've used that term evil. And I just don't think calling people evil who disagree with us is the best approach or tact. Like I said, there are some well-intentioned people who have a differing perspective on the state party affairs right now, and you're not going to win them over to our type of mindset of what's going on by calling them evil. There are some people on the other side who are part of that deep state operation, but there are some people on the other side who are good, sincere people who are in this fight with us and just disagree on this issue.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh
we need
yeah.
to be careful. And I know CJ and I have had our run-ins in the past, and it's going to take a little bit for me to get to a spot to, I want to get to a spot where I can fully trust CJ, but hopefully we can get to that point. But CJ, if you're listening out there, I appreciate when you do the right thing and, where you're fighting against the deep state and the status quo, but we got to get to a spot to make sure that we are uniting people around principle, not festering and sowing seeds of doubt about people too much. And we gotta be very mindful with how we approach things. So I just want to share that with everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I try to find common ground with Democrats all the time. I talk to people without even mentioning political affiliations, and try to have conversations just to have a conversation and develop a relationship before you get off into this and that. Learn something about each other, what you have in common, you know what I'm saying, before you get into politics. But I definitely, most of my family was inherit Democrats, traditionally, and they don't pay attention enough to recognize the deception. So, I'm constantly trying to bridge the gap, and I know it is evil people out there and in politics and in the world, but like you say, I don't believe every Democrat is a bad person or is evil or this and that. A lot of people just uh miss they just misinterpreting or not getting misinformed, or
Right.
whatever. But
Yeah.
not getting dosed, not getting the truth.
Right. And those voters and activists, right? We shouldn't hold elected officials to a higher standard would be my thought. As activists, we don't have to have a purity test. We don't have to, agree on everything. Work if they're going to come and work towards positive action in the Republican Party, let's have that big tent of activists. But when it comes time to the elected officials, if my voting record's not good enough, if I'm not doing a good enough job representing the community or one of my other colleagues, then you have an alternative option in the primary if somebody else is to come forward. But come November, it's time to come together as Republicans and to unite to beat the Democrats. But the problem is, you go back and you look at how establishment Republicans, they used to say year after year, term after term, the grassroots people would lose in the primary, an establishment person would win. And what would we hear from establishment people? It's time to come together. It's time to unite. You better vote Republican.
Rally.
And then what happened? What happened when Donald Trump won? Donald Trump wins, and these same establishment type of people, whether Fred Upton or John Kasich or Mitt Romney, who say it's time to come together and unite, they're pushing people out of the Republican Party as Donald Trump was bringing people into the Republican Party. So the real disruptors are the establishment deep state operatives in both the Republican and Democrat Party who don't like how the people are taking control of the Republican Party. There's independents and Democrats who would be inspired to vote Republican if we give them a principled message. But establishment operative Republicans in a 50-50 district will say, well, that state representative, he's going to have a tough time getting reelected because he's too far right. He's too much of an extremist. His voting record is too fringe, and he's not appealing to a big enough swath of his voters. Well, what's that going to tell the people of that district? Not to vote for that guy. In a 50-50 district, if you have a good state representative, the message that should be delivered to the people is, man, that guy, you may not agree with him on all the issues, but we need more people on both sides of the aisle who are going to challenge the status quo of politics and are going to stand up for the little guy against the corruption and the special interest groups. And that state representative, he stands up and he's standing up for the people. And we need more people like that on both sides of the aisle. If the establishment delivered that type of message for a principled Republican, we could shift things to the right. But the deep state continues to say, move to the left as the Democrats continue to destroy our country. Just keep moving to the left, move the goalposts to the left. We're destroying our country. We as the people and we grassroots within the Republican Party are saying, no, have the right message, stand up on principle, fight hard, and fight with the proper messaging. We need to deliver that. Enough of this nonsense of the deep state. We've come to the Republican Party and we're ready to take it back to being belonging to the people, not the corporate elite.
For sure. That's what I was just telling somebody. I'm like, we gotta clean up the Republican Party. A lot of the minorities is leaving the Democrat Party. Now they come in the Republican Party. We still gotta clean up the Republican Party, and then we can start making some progress. We're not saying the Republican Party is a saint and perfect and come over here. No, we got work to do over here. But the Dems, one thing I don't respect about them is they vote. They vote all in sync. Like, where's the individuality? Where's where's your identity? Where's the uniqueness? You know what I'm saying? Where's your own opinion? You just doing what you told all across the country, falling in line, voting lock and step. No, have your own voice. Speak out how you feel, and it take a lot of courage. And
Right.
that's one thing we do on the Republican side. We calling it out on the Republicans and the Democrats because we
Right.
see it's on both sides.
Right. And I'll leave it with this. I know you got other topics you'll get into, but I know it's getting close to dinner time for me here. And in my first year in 2021, there were 640 votes, and the Republicans had control of the House and Senate. So, because the Speaker of the House was a Republican got to decide what came up for a vote. Out of those 640 times in 2021, I voted no 270 times and I voted yes 370 times. But those 270 votes, I voted no more than everybody else, not just the Republicans. I voted no more than every single Democrat. And if you think that a Republican gets to bring up the votes, you would think that the Republican who votes yes the most often should be ranked the most conservative. But who was ranked the most conservative returning state representative from the 2022? I was ranked number one. I was number one, and I'm the one who went against the Republican Party leadership more than anybody else. Actually, Republican Party leadership had a voting record more similar to the far left Democrat than they did to me. That's the type of problem we have within the Republican Party. That's what the people should know. It's a deep state operation, and regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that's what the status quo wants. But the Democrat Party is getting more corrupt, and the Republican Party is seeing this movement to have revival from within, and we're just trying to deliver that, and we should continue to do that, but we should do it mindfully. And that's why I say we get conservative victories in primaries and Republican victories in November. And it's an honor to be in the fight. I appreciate what you do in the fight, Logic, and keep in touch. And I know you got other topics to get into it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Steve. And I love to have you back again, man. Just give me a call, bro.
All
Keep
right,
doing what
sounds
you're
good.
doing for sure.
Yeah, you
All
too.
right. Well, there y'all have that, State Rep Steve Carra. He in there, doing his thing and fighting for transparency, fighting for the people, and not worried about the opposition that he gonna face. So we done had our little share of ups and downs, but I look at it like we fighting on the same team. We fighting against the corruption, against the deep state, and we like family. Family have fights every now and then. They make up and they still family. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give him props as long when he do good, just like he said about Chuck Richard. When you do good, we gonna mention it. When you're doing something we don't agree with, we gonna mention it. But for the most part, I stand with State Rep Carra. He been doing this for years. He not a rookie to this. So shouts out to him, and we're gonna have him back regularly. Now, moving right along. So we got a hot topic going on. Let me see if I can bring it up because I made a post about it yesterday, and man, my little Facebook page was buzzing. So let me see. We got the West Michigan Satanic Temple is set to give opening prayer for Ottawa County Board. Now, it's a lot of stuff going on regarding this topic because people wondering who invited them to come give invocation or how did this happen and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get into the details of that. I've been digging around, but I want to read this article right here. This one is from the Highland Sentinel, Ottawa County. Satan is re-entering the chat. Satanists in West Michigan are rejoicing after the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners granted their request to give an invocation for an upcoming meeting April 23rd. The Satanic Temple West Michigan is proud to announce that our ministry has been selected to give an opening invocation at the Ottawa County Commission. Bender Bones, an ordained minister of the Satanic Temple of West Michigan, announced that on social media. We are excited to represent our growing community by taking part in the tradition of invocation, he wrote in a Reddit post. Bones first approached the board in May of 2023 when commissioners voted to make Ottawa a constitutional county. The meeting dragged on for nearly 8 hours, culminating in the Ottawa Impact controlling majority passing a large, non-binding declaration that encourages local law officers like the sheriff and county prosecutor not to enforce state and federal laws they deem unconstitutional. He goes on to say, I want to thank the county board and the Ottawa Impact Organization for their declaration of intent to uphold the values enshrined in our Constitution, Bones told the board in May. Our constitutional rights are our most cherished assets as United States citizens, even more as Satanists. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion nor restrict the free exercise thereof. Ottawa Impact, a far-right fundamentalist group created in 2021 by parents' right activists, Joe Moss and Sylvia Rodea, captured a majority of the 11-member county board in August. So this article goes on, and I'm not going to read it all, but they trying to test the First Amendment. Bones goes on to say this in his public comment. I am pleased that by swearing this oath to uphold these freedoms, it opens the door to make Ottawa County a place where Satanism will grow and thrive. As a sign of support, the Satanic Temple of West Michigan would like to begin the process of becoming involved with opening prayers at these meetings. This made me sick even having to read this. Y'all know all we talk about is Jesus on my channel, but we also talk about exposing and opposing the enemy. So we got to talk about this. People wondering how it happened. Well, our Constitution gives we got freedom of speech, freedom of religion. So the county board has all you got to do is sign up. If you're a religion, Satanism is a religion apparently. So they signed up just like anybody else could sign up. And the board has to go in order of who comes first and who signs up first. So their time came where they got their date scheduled for April 23rd, just like any other religious group. Now they testing the Constitution, and if the board refused to acknowledge them and give them a scheduled date, it was a lawsuit. So the county commissioners had no choice but to grant their request to do an invocation. So it's some people out there saying that the board of commissioners invited the Satanic Temple and wanted this to happen. It's some people out there that's blaming the board of commissioners. Well, as far as I know, the commissioners are just following the law and the rules, and they stand against this. What is happening, from what I've gathered, is that Ottawa County is a super conservative county, and they've been making great leaps and bounds in their community, doing great things for conservatism and for Christianity and for their community in general. And now, since they're doing so much good, you got the Satanic Temple trying to come in here and exhibit their rights, just like we have rights, and they trying to come in here and bring in some darkness to this county that's been being so illuminated by goodness. So you know, we gonna be there. I plan on being there live streaming with my Bible in one hand and my camera set up and my megaphone in the other hand, uh, calling on the mighty name of the one true King of all kings, Yahshua HaMashiach, the King of all kings, creator of all creations, the Lord of all lords. We're gonna be in there engaging in spiritual warfare, civilly, respectfully, praying against this wickedness and praying for Christ to continue to spread light all across this dark world. So keep me lifted and keep all the other prayer warriors who plan on attending lifted, because we're going to be engaging in warfare, spiritual warfare, which is a very real thing. So right now, from what I've gathered, it's going to be April 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Fillmore Center, 6 or 6:30, I'm not sure. As the details continue to come out, I'm going to continue to keep y'all informed on that, you know. But it's a real thing. I went through their Facebook page, and the comments and the stuff just make me sick. Like, these people think it's a game, and it's our side is like a sports team where you just pick the side you like the best and then stand by them no matter what. Like, they think standing with the kingdom of darkness is a joke. And a lot of these people have been misled, deceived, brainwashed, lied to all their life, never had true seeds of faith planted in their hearts, never had true seeds of truth planted in their hearts. Might have grew up in a broken home or a dark home. You never know. But we're gonna be praying. I'm gonna be praying for a lot of these people. I'm gonna be praying for a lot of them, and I'm gonna be praying against the wicked plans that they conspiring against the body of Christ and the community. That's for sure as well. You know what I'm saying? So just wanted to touch on that, and I'm gonna be touching on it more and more and more as well. You know what I'm saying? Now we also wanted to touch on what we got going on over here. Got a couple minutes left before we get up out of here. We got Sister Stephanie Lambert was just arrested, and she got released, and I guess she done turned herself back in, according to this article that was released by the Detroit Free Press today at about 3:45. Michigan attorney Stephanie Lambert turned herself in today following her arrest in Washington, D.C. as a fugitive with an outstanding bench warrant for failing to appear for a court hearing in the criminal case against her for allegedly plotting to gain illegal access to voting machines. Earlier this month, Lambert did not show up for a hearing concerning her refusal to comply with a court order requiring her to undergo fingerprinting. She has argued in court filings that her failure to appear was not willful, citing a communication breakdown with her previous lawyer. The bench warrant was over a week old when Lambert traveled to Washington, D.C. for work. While in the nation's capital, she was arrested in a federal courtroom following a hearing in a defamation lawsuit in which she represents Patrick Byrne, who has gained political prominence for embracing conspiracies about voting machines. I embrace them same conspiracies about voting machines and about the voting system and the election as well. So, after returning to Michigan and showing up at Oakland County Circuit Court, Lambert, an ally of former President Donald Trump, underwent fingerprinting and DNA collection. Her bench warrant was set aside and a new cash bond of $10,000 was set. Chief Circuit Court Judge Jeffrey Mattis presided over her case and set a requirement for her to be present at future hearings either in person or remotely. This is crazy, man. The last little bit of the article goes to state that Lambert was indicted by a grand jury last August and faces 4 felony charges for following a special prosecutor's investigation. No, faces 4 felony charges following a special prosecutor's investigation into an alleged conspiracy to seize voting machines in the wake of the 2020 presidential election. Lambert's initial failure to appear delayed the initial trial date set in her criminal case. Mattis plans to discuss a new timeline for the trial. Oh man, I tell you. So, all the people fighting for the truth and transparency and freedom and justice and exposing the true criminals, we all under attack. We all under attack, man. Don't matter who you is. If you trying to expose from President Trump to Christina Caramo, to tons and tons, Michael and Dale, you even got, all these. If you a celebrity or a politician or average day citizen journalist like me, they deleted my channel when I had almost 3,000 subscribers. Well on my way growing. They labeling us as targets, but for standing for the truth. And the Bible said we would go through this stuff, so it shouldn't be a surprise. You know what I'm saying? So prayers to all the true warriors out there all across the state, country, and globe fighting for freedom and fighting for the truth. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Sister Stephanie Lambert. And I also want to say before we get out of here, you know what I'm saying? Please check out your boy Logik's website. You know what I'm saying? I've been working on that boy hardcore. Is coming along. You can get y'all tickets for the Reawakening tour, 10% off. Text promo code LOGIC to 918-851-0102. That's Clay Clark's number. You know what I'm saying? See what's going on with Casper and learn about advocates for youth. You click those links, they'll take you right to that page. We got AxeMiTax right here. I was going to discuss her, but I'll continue to discuss her in upcoming days. Bam. We got the new documents that the Sheriff Dar Leaf just exposed. You click on this, it'll take you right to the web page at Election Integrity Force. Minds of Michigan, that's Brother Ethan Hobson right there. We collaborating on things behind the scenes. He got his Minds of Michigan link right there. Valuable information. Check it out. General Flynn event coming up. You know what I'm saying? Get your tickets through this QR code right here. You know what I'm saying? Exclusive. GridDown ChowDown. Check this out. New products, new affiliates that I'm working with. Great products. Michigan Muckraker. Oh man, I ain't even got time to go through all this stuff. I'm gonna do a whole new episode on it. Please check out the website. It's coming along great. Taylor brand clothing. Everybody asks where I get my clothes. A lot of them I get from him. This I got on is from my other brother in Christ down in Ohio. I think he moving down in Atlanta, brother Rashawn Jones, musician. Man, we got so much going on. Please support your boy. Please help out. Doing all this stuff is hard work. It's not free, but it's my passion and it's my purpose. And I'm going to try my hardest to continue to bring y'all truth when it comes to Michigan or when it comes to exposing and opposing the kingdom of darkness. We're going to keep spreading that gospel. Thank you, Lord, for each and every day. Thank you for watching over us, my family, my household, each and every warrior out there who fighting for your name. Lord, we thank you. We lift you up and we give you so much praise and glory. You know what I'm saying? And without the Lord on our side, boy, we would be lost. You know what I'm saying? So what else did I want to touch on? Yeah, I think I touched on everything. And it's right on time. So thank you for tuning back in once again for another episode of Logik's View. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, please like, share, donate, or even drop subscribe, or even drop prayer requests down below. And subscribe. I done messed up my outro. Thank you for tuning in to Logik's View. God bless. Peace.